Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fresh Faced Comics, the comic book podcast, hosted by Joey Morgan. That's me. I'll come up with an intro eventually. I don't fucking know.
We will work this out.
We'll work this out. I am a comic book veteran, as I think I'm supposed to be known, and I'm here to show my friend Jacob Licklider.
Hello, I'm the
Some
fresh face part.
he's the fresh face part. I'm the comics. Should be fun though. So for those of you who listening who know us from Security Kitchen Productions, welcome to the new channel. This is Blood Donut Studios. All kinds of fun things over here, mostly for non-Who content and things that I don't think would interest the Security Kitchen audience. And for those of you finding us totally new, welcome. I'm Joey. This is Jacob. We typically do Doctor Who fan audio projects over on Security Kitchen Productions. I'll leave that link in the description. But seeing as I don't think there's a lot of crossover in Batman and Doctor Who fans, I can't see me getting many new Security Kitchen subscribers from this. But who knows?
I mean, there might be some. You never know.
Yeah. So this idea was born a couple of weeks ago. We were on a Discord call, and you had said to me that you wanted to get into more comics because, as a quick rundown for those watching, you've only read 3 comics.
I've only read The Sandman by Neil Gaiman because it's Neil Gaiman. Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. Mainly because someone was like, "You should read this. You will love this," and made me read it. And then Invincible because I really like the Amazon show.
Fair enough. And so that is your only exposure to the world of comics before today.
Technically, comic book films. I've seen a decent amount of Marvel.
Fair enough.
And a decent amount of DC films, but
yes.
We'll get into the story probably later.
Seeing as we're mostly Doctor Who fans, of course we've read some Doctor Who comics, but that's beside the point. So we thought so you know a fair bit about Batman. You started watching Batman the Animated Series recently. I think also thanks to me.
Partially thanks to you. You made me get it. It was on my radar for a while. Like I knew I wanted to watch it.
And for those who don't own it physically, the Blu-ray set is really cheap actually on Amazon. How much was it?
It was like it was like, I don't remember, I think it was like $40 max.
That's not bad, honestly. And for the whole series, it comes with the 2 movies, has all of New Batman Adventures, a lot of great stuff
and bonus
in there.
Features.
So we figured that Batman would be a pretty good.
It's currently like $36.99 on Amazon.
That's great. That is a great price for that. As someone that had to go through the pain of collecting all of the DC collectible box sets as they came out over the years, the 4 of them, that is a much better deal than what I had to pay over the years. But then, so we figured that Batman would be a pretty good jumping on point for you. And you asked me,
and I had seen all the at least Burton Schumacher films and 2/3 of the Dark Knight trilogy.
2/3, not the 2/3 you would think, but we'll get into that. And so as far as reading comics, we figured Batman would be a good jumping off point. You asked me what would be a good one to start off with, and after some very quick soul searching, I landed on The Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb with art by Tim Sale. And you read that this past week, and we are here to talk about it. So it is my understanding that you are dedicated to the idea of doing a non-spoiler section first.
Yes. Well, because, we might get some crossover audience, and we don't want to spoil, like, this person is the killer.
That's fair.
Right off the bat.
So, all right. So, as someone that's just read it and watched the film adaptation and The Dark Knight, give me the rundown of The Long Halloween. What is it about?
So The Long Halloween is kind of, it's your classic Agatha Christie murder mystery, just set in the Batman universe and not set in a closed location. So basically, on Halloween, just randomly, God, I can't remember who the first victim is. Someone
Johnny Vitti. Johnny
Vitti, right? Working for the for Carmine, the Roman Falcone is shot and killed with a like a 22 caliber pistol with
Yep.
a like the nipple of a baby bottle,
Hmm.
using as a silencer, which is just a beautiful image.
Oh, I love it. It's so great. Like
It's this very off-putting image,
it really is.
and
Yeah.
like a jack-o'-lantern is left right there on the scene,
Yeah,
um,
and he's killed on
and
Halloween. What is it? 3 months after his wedding. At
yes,
which is where the book opens. Happens in June. There's a lot of talk about how hot it is that June day. I love the opening scene of the comic where Bruce is talking to Carmine, and we have the whole like I believe in Gotham City. Carmine talks to him about his history with the Wayne family and how their fathers were friends and all that. Says that there's really rich history between the two characters, and something that I'm sure we'll get into later. That something that
and
you pointed out to me.
it's important to note that it is Bruce as Bruce. You get plenty for people who. One of my big issues, at least with some of the Batman live action films, is you don't get a lot of Bruce as Bruce. Um,
Yeah.
it, in this comic, you get a lot of just Bruce as Bruce Wayne. Um,
Hmm.
and it's very not quite pastiching The Godfather, but like that entire opening sequence kind of is, because you then find Harvey Dent taking down the license plates in the parking garage.
Hmm.
Um, Harvey Dent, of course, uh, and you have sort of basically throughout the first issue, you're kind of building up to the whole idea, to the idea of that I believe in Harvey Dent. Um,
Hmm.
which is kind of a just the major theme throughout this.
Oh,
And then,
as like it's weird because you had pointed out to me something that I hadn't really put a lot of thought into back on Falcone for a second. Um, Falcone is pretty much just as much a player in this as Bruce and Gordon, and
yeah,
Harvey
no,
isn't
he's,
Harvey isn't so much one of the main detectives in it as he is the person that these three people are fighting over. If that makes sense,
yeah,
like it's yeah, like he is the one struggling with his morality here. As much as the book plays up like, oh, it's Batman and Gordon and Harvey all working together. No, the three main
Falcone is
detectives.
a detective who is
Yeah, like the
getting,
three main
who
people
is getting,
investigating.
just as, so the bodies start piling up. The whole idea is that on every holiday, sort of, um, basically throughout the next year or so, there's another murder in the same manner. 22 caliber pistol, serial numbers filed off, baby bottle nipple, something representing the holiday left at the scene. And it's all people that are connected to the Falcone family and their mob. Because, yeah, like, so Falcone, I'm guessing he was an established character before this, right?
Yeah. Falcone appears in a couple Batman comics before this. Um, Obviously, without spoiling too much, he's not as important a character within the Batman mythos post Long Halloween. Um,
Yeah, but he's sort of just your mafia.
yeah, like I don't know how well you remember Batman Begins, but like he's in Batman Begins. They get rid of him by
I
the end.
vaguely remember that he was in that. I don't quite remember what his. I think
Yeah,
he gets.
he's typically used in the same manner that he's used here. Like he's one of the early like main antagonists for Batman in most iterations of the
Yeah,
Batman mythos, where like he's like one of the first guys that Batman goes after and takes down to establish Batman as this vigilante, this hero of Gotham, and then the supervillains start piling up.
yeah, and well, and what's kind of nice about his portrayal here, he's portrayed as very human. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
he's kind of sympathetic in places. Like, there's this tension between him and his son, who sort of wants to join the family business, and like in the film adaptation, they play it up that there's more tension, but in the actual comic, the tension is there, but it is clear that he cares enough about his son.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah,
it's almost like
it,
his son almost to him kind of represents innocence in a way.
mhm,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
uh,
Um, I love the Falcone family. I really do. I love exploring everyone in there. I love his bodyguard Milos. I love his sister Carla. And they're all like well established characters. His daughter Sophia. They're all really interesting characters with very strong personalities. No matter how long or short they're around for in the comic, you get to know them all pretty well.
yeah, no, they're there. I think Sophia might be my favorite because she's the most interesting. I think
Yeah,
she probably
yeah,
gets the most focus, even
yeah.
though I think she
Aside from
only,
Carmine himself, yeah.
yeah, and she only pops up starts popping up about halfway.
Yeah,
Through.
She shows up around like the Father's Day, Mother's Day.
Yeah,
like right around that section. Yeah, and she's a great character. They all are. We get introduced to the other main crime family in Gotham, the Maronis. We meet Salvatore Maroni, who's another big target of Dent's. And I think if you were worried at all about Carmine being like generic Godfather type mob boss, that's more Maroni's job in this, because Carmine is the three-dimensional character here. Maroni's like the hey, what do you want? He's like that kind of guy. You know?
Yeah, well, he's also the guy we never see anything. If this were prose, we would never see anything from Maroni's perspective, because we get into Falcone's head.
Now, one really important thing about this killer that attacks on Holidays, who they call Holiday throughout the book, one important thing about him is that this killer is almost exclusively going after members of the Falcone family, and this leads to all sorts of suspicion with it among Carmine and the Falcone family that it's got to be someone on Maroni's side taking us all down, and so they play around with that a lot, but also who could be Holiday outside of the Maroni family?
Yeah,
one of the big suspects is Harvey Dent himself. I think obviously anyone with a vague knowledge of Batman can pretty easily write that off, but it's still a possibility.
It very much is. There's also early on, so throughout this book there are just appearances from most of the famous Batman rogues.
Yep. Yeah.
And once we get to spoilers, we can go pretty in depth on at least some of them, because
we could say which ones appear in the book. So we have Joker, we have Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, Mad Hatter, Penguin, Riddler, Solomon Grundy. Penguin makes a very brief appearance towards the end, and I think that's it. Okay, of course, Calendar Man, yeah, but also Catwoman. I forgot to mention. But Catwoman's another big part of the book, because Catwoman seems to have this personal interest and investment in the Holiday killings, but also specifically in the Falcone family. And she's a really interesting player throughout the book, because it's not just Catwoman, but it's Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne as a couple throughout it. You see how they play around with their double lives.
I will say it's never outright stated, but I think this is the book that by the end of it, I think they both figure out who each other are.
I would say, so because I know other comics, I would say Bruce definitely knows who Catwoman is at that point, but I would disagree with Selina knowing who Batman is, because there is a specific story about Selina finding out who Batman is later down the road. So I would say she does.
Well, even if she doesn't, it would be a good way that if they end up wanting to use this as the she knows, it would work. Specifically around the St. Patrick's Day chapter.
Because she's the one that's where she really helps out Bruce in particular. But I think that more has to do with her vendetta against the villain of the St. Patrick's Day chapter.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'd also say something you get to see, sort of just the home lives of basically our sort of three main detectives and Harvey Dent. One thing I'm very happy that this book does is the way it portrays Commissioner Gordon. I don't think he's commissioner yet.
No, he is at that point, actually.
He's at this point. I don't think they call him commissioner in this book anywhere.
You're right. I don't think they do, but yeah, I think. But if I'm remembering right, it's been a while since I've read year one, but I think he does become commissioner in year one. But I may be misremembering.
Yeah. So what I really like is that they play it up like he is a loving husband and father. There isn't any tension between him and his wife, and I think that's just a nice trope for them to avoid.
Mm-hmm. They have a son. They only have the son in this, and it's Jim Jr. And he's a character that doesn't show up a lot in Batman comics, but when certain writers do decide to use him, there's a very specific purpose in mind, which is really cool. So there's some I guess there's some weird implications here though, because little Barbara is nowhere to be seen in the original comic, and I don't know if if that's meant to imply that the Batman mythos goes on so long that Barbara is born and grows up and becomes Batgirl eventually. But
Yeah.
that's a weird implication right there. But whatever. Um, yeah, so I like that. Yeah, I love Gordon's family. Harvey's home life, I love. I love Gilda as a character. She's really great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's
She's
there's the tension, but it never feels even the tension with them like
mhm. Well,
there's
there are moments throughout the book where they really do play with Harvey's morality before they go like full on like Harvey could become a bad guy. Like there are some moments where like his dialogue is written as very aggressive because he's hell bent on taking down Falcone and Maroni. He's
well, and as time goes on,
he's stressed because
everyone
of his
gets just more tense about this holiday killer.
yeah, yep. But one of my favorite moments in the comic is it's not a spoiler to say Calendar Man's role in it because he comes in pretty early on. He comes in the Christmas chapter. So so Calendar Man is constantly in Arkham throughout the comic, and Batman and Gordon pretty consistently go to Calendar Man to ask him like for advice on like what may the holiday killer do today, like what are important holidays, what could be happening now, and the first time you see him is in the Christmas chapter, and I love the moment where he's like, "Oh yes, it's December 24th. I was surprised you didn't come to me sooner. What could possibly be happening now?" And that's when we first get introduced to how the Joker is involved in the plot and all that. It's really interesting, and every single character plays a very specific purpose in the plot, no matter how big or small. I really like it.
And it's implied that he knows who the killer is, but it's never
Yeah,
confirmed.
one of my favorite things about his dialogue is that he's constantly changing the gender of Holiday in
Yeah.
his dialogue. I always like that. You know, like in the
Oh,
same sentence, he'd be like, what will he do tonight? Who knows what she will do? Like that kind of thing. Like it's always
yeah.
constantly changing. It's fun. I like it.
And it's just this great off-putting like Calendar Man as a villain. I don't think. I mean, I had never really heard of um,
Mm.
outside of his like cameo in Arkham City.
Yeah, he's not typically used in many places. But of course he's very well suited for a story like this, and
Yeah.
it's easily my favorite appearance of his in the comics that I've read at least. So yeah, brilliant stuff. Really brilliant stuff. What is your favorite? What did you find your favorite chapter was of the book?
Mm. Um, it might have actually had to be April Fool's Day.
I knew you really liked that one based on what you were saying to me as you read it. You're like, I love this character's role they play in the plot.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's
that's
because
okay.
it's not one where you get like a whole lot of plot progression. You don't.
Mhm. Yeah,
But it's
I
where
think
you
for me,
get a,
oh, sorry, go
a
ahead.
shift, a shift in the writing, and it's basically the tipping point where just certain things are driven, um, and it's let's muse on what's come before we because it's the halfway point of the 13 issues.
Yeah, it's issue 7 13. So it's pretty much exactly the halfway point, and it's a really cool play on the holiday killer. I think obviously what happens at the end of that chapter in particular, I love that. Love that play on who Holiday would kill and what they would actually do on that holiday. Um, I think my favorite chapter personally is Mother's Day. I fucking adore that issue.
See,
Um,
Mother's Day and Father's Day are both brilliant.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think everyone rightfully loves Roman Holiday. That one's brilliant, but Mother's Day really gets it for me. I think as it's the perfect opportunity to use the villain in that one, to use the rogue that they focus on in that one. Brilliant exploration of Bruce's character there, and like you already mentioned, like Father's Day, like brilliantly follows that up in paralleling it and further delving into that connection between the Wayne and Falcone families.
Well, it's the first time you actually understand what the connection is. Like,
Yeah. Like the book opens on Carmine talking about what their connection is, but you don't actually see that exemplified until the Father's Day issue, and
yeah.
it's really brilliant. So we haven't talked yet about the art style, which is
No,
something
we
that
haven't.
which is the first thing that you mentioned to me when you started reading. You're like, I love the art style here, and
Yes,
I agree.
it's perfectly suited to a mystery like this.
It is.
Um,
It's not. It doesn't need to be detailed because it's the right kind of
But
story for not to
but
be
it is
super
also
detailed.
very detailed.
Yeah, in the right way. Like certain moments like need to be excruciatingly detailed, but big moments like Batman chasing Catwoman on a rooftop are very simplistic. Um, so I love Sale's art style, and it perfectly captures that noir detective story that you're seeking in it. They do these every now and then for like certain famous comic stories. They'll do these like different editions of comics where like they totally strip away the color from artwork and they call it a noir edition, and then they strip away the inks and it's called the unwrapped edition. It's just the pencils. There's a noir version of Long Halloween, and it's fucking beautiful. It's just the inks,
See,
all black
I
and
don't know how I'd feel about that, because
I don't
I
it, it
think
I don't
sales use.
I don't typically like them myself. Like there's a noir killing joke and that just doesn't work for me. But Long Halloween is really suited to it.
See, that's interesting, because I actually think the way that Sale uses color here um, is really important. Um, not to go too
It's a
deep
very
in.
it's a very blue comic, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it's
almost
very blue, but it's also just um, like, if you even just look at the first panel, you have um, just the first panel of the entire book. It's Bruce Wayne in a tux, in that
almost
position with just this
almost completely black, and like the only color in that is pretty much his face.
his face and this important pop of yellow from the window.
Yeah,
Um, like, I feel if you made it all black and white, you might lose something there. Um,
that's fair. That's fair. But my point was like if you were to do it to any story, like Long Halloween is the story
yeah.
to do it.
Well, like, even going further, just throughout the issue, you see a lot of yellow at the wedding. Um, that just gets that, like, yellow gets used, and it's sort of just like, if this is the one scene where stuff hasn't gone down, shit hasn't gone down yet.
Yeah,
Nobody's
it's one of those
died.
cases where like each there's a certain like color palette used for each issue that like when we're in the winter issues with like Christmas and New Year's Eve, it's very blue to signify like the winter segments. St. Patrick's Day is very blue, and it's very satisfying to go through.
Yeah, and I mean, the first issue has this nice fight between Batman and Catwoman, um,
Oh, I
which
love.
is such a game of cat and mouse that is almost comedic.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Always love
um,
it because I
I'm not the
I'm
biggest fan of Catwoman's design here.
yeah, I'm not huge on the purple suit, especially like the ears. I don't know. It's weird.
It's the tail that makes me just not like it. I'm like, why?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
The purple is fine. I actually don't mind the purple. It gives a nice off-put color than just black or gray.
Well, I mean, we'll do it eventually. But the Catwoman suit in Hush is my personal favorite. A lot of Catwoman suits like since then have been modeled off the Jim Lee Catwoman. It's just it's the definitive Catwoman for me. Yeah, I'm not big on the Long Halloween one.
Yeah.
Then what else? What else? Anything else that we should cover before we move into spoilers?
Um, I Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Um,
I
because
mean,
I think we've
spoiler section
given.
is going to be long.
Yeah, I'd say if we haven't convinced you to go and read this, um, obviously, if you're ever even thinking of reading it, it's a really good mystery. Um, like, I have a couple of complaints that we'll get to in the spoiler section. Mainly one big one,
Is it?
and I
Is it?
think Joey, you.
Wait. Is it? Are you still bitching about the St. Patrick's Day one?
Yes, that annoys
Fucking hell!
me.
God damn it! Okay, whatever.
It's the one thing that I'm like, what? We'll get to it.
Okay. Um, yeah, great comic though. Absolutely should go seek it out. Also, before anyone that's only here for the non-spoiler section leaves, just for a feel of what the future of this podcast is going to be like. Seeing as Batman is our entryway character, we're going to be doing a couple Batman stories early on. Then we'll start to delve into other superheroes, and we'll go from there. So just to give an idea of what that's going to be like. So I think that about does it for the non-spoiler section. Let's go into spoilers for the long
Yes.
haul. So Okay, not a spoiler. Actually, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but the Thanksgiving issue, I fucking love Grundy in that. I love
Yes, I
I,
love that. That's also one of my favorite moments from the comic. Just Bruce leaving him food.
yeah, it's
Like,
brilliant. I love it.
so I
Yeah.
don't entirely know Solomon Grundy as a character. I'm guessing he's just a zombie.
Yeah, just a
Like,
zombie. Guy that died fell into a swamp that brought him back to life, and one of the first things he came across, the origin that I know, we got one of the first things he came across was like a group of people just hanging out near that swamp, and there was like a children's book there with a nursery rhyme Solomon Grundy, and so he gave that name to himself, and that's Solomon Grundy. That's it. So it's not too complex,
yes.
but yeah, so I love that. Love the Thanksgiving issue. So Christmas, I fucking love the Joker. I love back on the art style for a second. I love the way Tim Sale draws the Joker. I cannot get over that. Like, I love just the million teeth that he has and the very long face. It's just gorgeous. And there's some really great shots of him throughout it. I love the one where he's like in Harvey's house and Harvey walks into the room and he's has the Santa hat on and he's like standing next to the Christmas tree. I love that. Yeah,
He's
just
also he's
brilliant.
just through his entire appearance. He's just pissed that he's being shown up because he's a drama queen.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love it. He just wants to kill Holiday because he doesn't want to be because like Holiday is like the talk of the town. Like he's the one that everyone is after in Gotham because he's like the big villain. You
This
know,
town isn't big enough for two homicidal maniacs.
it's so good. It's so fucking good. I love it. So yeah, that's great. He continues into the New Year's Eve stuff. It's at that point that the dynamic of the holiday killings begins to change. Because one of the prime suspects, I think, at that point, had you suspected Alberto before New Year's Eve?
Yeah, I had a couple of
Because
suspicions.
there are those couple panels where like I love the panels, but they're great. They like zoom in on his glasses as he's like observing just a conversation going on around him. I love those. They're like the first little hints that he would be involved in the holiday killings. So actually, what's a really fun story. I don't know if it was in your version of Long Halloween, but I had a digital copy that I did this time around that had this like little story at the end of when Alberto dies in the New Year's issue. He they DC got a bunch of letters in at the time that like pointed out like, oh, I figured out who Holiday is. There was no body for Alberto Falcone. Um, Ironically, there was actually a page drawn that like showed Alberto's body, but it had to be cut because it like went over the amount of pages that they had or something like that. But it did exist. Like like they did show Alberto's body in an original copy of
Well,
Long
because
Halloween.
they show his body. It's the
Not in the
last page. You see his hand.
Yeah, but you never see like the full body in the way that you see like you know how like whenever Holiday kills someone, like you have that like full page of like the aftermath of it. You always see the body. It's
Oh
not
yeah, no.
that page is non-existent in the New Year's
Well, I
issue.
mean, but they also imply it. He falls over the
Yeah.
edge, and you see that beautiful color pop of the blood in the water.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I love that. But then what is after that? We move on to Valentine's Day. We get a nice little date between Bruce and Selena. My little Batman Catwoman shipping heart is happy.
Actually,
And
there is something I want to talk about Christmas and New Year's Eve collectively.
okay.
Is that the Joker is genuinely hilarious. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, he's fun as
one of
hell.
my
Yeah.
favorite moments is at the beginning of New Year's Eve, where it's like, co-pilot check, navigator check, stewardess.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, he's legitimately
He's
funny.
flying a
It's
plane,
so
and then he's
good.
like, He's basically, I have no idea how to fly a plane.
Yeah. So good. And I love I love the look of him like in the full like pilot's outfit. It's fun. So yes, we have Valentine's Day. At the end of the Valentine's Day issue, we get I guess our first, well, I guess second spoiler because we Alberta was the first big one. But then, uh, so you find out that Poison Ivy is has taken over Bruce's mind, which brings us
By
to St.
this
Patrick's
very
Day, and
nice little rose. Now, just a little bit on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is where you you start seeing like the killings kind of shift a little bit too.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it's the guys outside of Maroney's, like,
Mhm.
and that's just like, well, and that's the point. That's the point where basically where I was like, right, it definitely cannot be Harvey, because like it's like no, it's too brash, and then yeah, you also get that very nice moment with Jim and Barbara, like celebrating
Oh,
Valentine's Day,
yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love
and then
that.
Harvey doing the right thing.
Yep. Yep. I love Harvey. I always like genuinely love seeing Harvey Dent as a character pre Two
Well, because
Face. It's always
he's
just
part of the
really
whole point is that he is a good man,
yeah, yeah,
and
and that
even spoilers, he becomes Two Face in this.
oh,
Even after
whoa.
that,
Um,
even after that,
okay.
he's still kind of a good man. He still has his morals, mostly.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Just with that little, just it's sort of like with that added edge, but there's more there. But I wanted to talk about St. Patrick's Day now because I want you to bitch about it because I think it's a fine issue. I think it really is. But
It's
every time
fine.
you were talking, you
It's
just got
fine.
progressively more pissed.
Except it's all because of the poison ivy design, right? And the whole overgrowth design. Like so what happened on St. Patrick's Day? So like the subplot throughout a lot of this sort of first half that we haven't even touched on is Carmine Falcone trying to get Bruce in on his schemes, basically. Um, like signing over bank assets to allow him to do it. And then he eventually resorts to, right, just I'm just gonna hire Poison Ivy, which and have her hypnotize him, which I'm fine with that. Yeah, cool, great. The slight problem is, and he falls for the spell. That I'm totally fine with, until you get to the point where you see her. She's like taken. She's eating dinner with Bruce as Poison Ivy, as a plant lady, and Alfred has been around, and my brain's like, Alfred, why aren't you doing anything? Why? Like it is just it is so minor, but it bugs me so much. Um, just because like it's like Alfred, you know something is wrong. Like you just I don't know, just like one thing. But yeah, I mean I do like the fight in the end.
Yeah,
With
because then Catwoman comes in to save Bruce um, and finishes the whole Poison Ivy plot. It's cool. It's cool. Like I don't know. I think
and
it's a
then we
fine
get this
issue.
nice Phantom of the Opera moment with the
Yes.
execution.
Yep. Always love it. And then we move on to April Fool's Day, which uh, pretty much the exact opposite of St. Patrick's Day for you. You absolutely loved April Fool's Day.
I love it. I love
So
it.
so we continue Carmine's quest in hiring supervillains now to
The
help in
Riddler.
his yes, and now yeah, so he hires the Riddler. Riddler's like meant to like figure out any riddle, whatever. Why shouldn't he be able to figure out who Holiday is? And so I want to hear what like your full thoughts on this because I know you really liked this issue.
So one, I love that it's basically let's flash back at the killings. And I love it's that beautiful way for sales artwork that just intercuts um between the Riddler's thought process to Batman's thought process. Um,
Mhm.
like we start with the idea that but I'm going to read because I have the issue open with in front of me. Let's be more practical. These 22 pistols are lightweight, easy on the hand, perfect for a woman, and the image is Catwoman, um, basically going through and killing. It
Mhm.
says Catwoman, um, and it's and the reasoning is right. Catwoman stole in the first issue from Falcone. Falcone. It's really, and then you have sort of Bruce coming in implying that it easily could be Sal Maroni, who at this point we haven't seen much of. But
Yeah. He only becomes like really important later on.
Yeah, we've seen him occasionally, and we've seen his men be targeted. And it would explain why Alberto got hit. And that gets dismissed. Oh, I forgot about the whole the Murad imagery in the first killing, of being killed in the bathtub.
Oh, yeah, because he thinks that's Carla, right?
Yeah, he thinks that's Carla, which is perfect if you know. Oh gosh, what's Marat was a man in the a newspaper man during the French Revolution who was famously assassinated in his bathtub. And so that's just it's imagery like that. And you have the Riddler very much just intrigued by the puzzle. Much to Falcone losing it, and it's like and it's all building up to basically the idea that it could be Harvey Dent.
Yep. And this is where like we really start pushing for that idea, all at the same time. Or is it next? Yeah, next issue we start covering who Harvey thinks Holiday could be, and
and then you have the final 2 pages of the issue. The Riddler gets thrown out, and that's when we shift to black and white. Because that's the
and they play it like it's going to be another Holiday killing, and it is Holiday there.
It's Holiday there, and bullets are fired, and then we end on that haunting image of when does a killer not kill?
Oh, it's so good. I love it so much.
That's probably why this is like my favorite issue, just because it's that very good contemplative. We're stumped. All the leads are not making sense. And then we of course move into our good friend Dr. Jonathan Crane.
Yes, who is the star of the Mother's Day issue, which, as I previously stated, of course, is my favorite issue of the comic. I don't care how many times I see it. I always adore the shooting of Thomas and Martha Wayne. I always love how different people interpret it and how it's always done. Really great stuff.
I love the implication that Bruce blames himself because he had his mother wear the pearls. It's this. It's this little thing that's just so sad.
Yep. So first off, so Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, breaks out. We get this beautiful spread of Crane riding away on a horse and with Arkham behind him. But it's such a great 2-page spread. So Batman chases him out. Scarecrow hits him with some fear toxin, which sends Batman just off the deep end. He goes fucking crazy. Meanwhile, what is it? This is the issue where Harvey and Gordon start investigating Bruce Wayne, right?
Yeah.
This is really
Gordon. Because it's.
But Harvey's the one
because there is the connection there, and it's genuinely connection where the reader doesn't know yet and it's been building, like, we don't know what Bruce Wayne's connection was to the Falcone family.
Yeah. So of course then Bruce gets out of his Batman suit, and still being affected by fear toxin. Gordon just wants to go after him, ask him some questions, has some incriminating evidence on him, and this eventually leads Bruce to the graveyard. And my favorite panel in the entire book is here, which is Bruce going insane on fear toxin, Gordon and the police after him, crying in front of his mother's grave. I adore it. I adore it so much. It's a haunting image, and I don't know. I will never get over it. It's one of my favorite things, not just this comic, but all of comics. I fucking adore it. So we move into Father's Day then, and we get this
the perfect companion piece.
Of course. We get this flashback where we see Carmine Falcone's father father, bringing a beaten up and shot a couple times Carmine to Wayne Manor, asking Thomas to help him and save his son, and he does, of course, in the end. And Bruce watches the whole thing. Bruce realizes that is the connection between his family and the Falcone family. I love it. It's this great extra bit of lore to add to their characters that makes that connection so much deeper. I love it.
And it's this great idea that, like, for Thomas Wayne, it does not matter. All that matters is that there is an injured man who's in desperate need of help.
Yeah, yep. But to the Falcone family, like, that means that Thomas is now part of their circle. You know, that means a lot more than just a doctor helping a patient. That's loyalty there, and it's really really great. I love the different the just the shifting dynamic there. Really really great stuff.
And of course, it's revealed that this story is being essentially told on the stand by Alfred.
Yeah. Oh, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, so of course Bruce is eventually let go, and it's great. And what the holiday victim this issue is Maroni's father, right?
Luigi Moroni, who
Yes.
you only see you really only see for one page before he gets shot.
But I really like that scene between Sal and Luigi. It's a really great scene in the garden.
It's this
there.
great parallel between Carmine and Alberto, because you have this feeling, we just like, suck it up, you idiot child.
Yeah. Yep. Oh God, I love it. So then we cut over to pretty much it. I mean, we get some like domestic stuff for Father's Day. Oh, yeah, I like the constant focusing on ties for Father's Day, like as like the gift that people give their fathers for Father's Day. Like Sophia gets Carmine one. Jim Jr. gets Gordon one. It's really great. I love that, just that,
and the adorable little card.
Yeah, yep. Oh, I love it. It's so great. This is also the issue where we learn that Mad Hatter is now involved in this whole thing, and him and Scarecrow are working together. I had to laugh because we were talking last night, and you said, like, I had no clue who the fuck the Mad Hatter was before that.
I didn't. I'm like, I'm guessing he just deals Alice in Wonderland. Like,
Yeah,
you're quoting the Walrus and the Carpenter.
Yeah. Which is funny because I think you're pretty close to his first appearance in the animated series, right?
Like, I'll probably end up watching that episode either tomorrow or sometime this weekend.
Yeah. So it's all there. You'll get it pretty easily. But yeah, the shtick is just he thinks he's Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland.
I like the way we haven't mentioned Richard Starking's lettering, but for the Mad Hatter, he gives him that weird that font.
Yeah,
in his
that almost looks like
dialogue.
that. Almost looks like that meme font now. You know,
which is how I read it. That is how my brain read it. I know this is what 1996, 1997.
Yeah, 95 to 96. Yeah, that's when it was published.
So it cannot. That font did not like exist, but it works.
Yeah,
it works.
Oh yeah, it's funny. Yeah. Yeah, that's just great. I also like since we're talking about the font and the lettering for it, I like how all the thought bubbles are like the lowercase letters rather than the typical capital letters of speech bubbles. It's different.
Yeah,
it's different.
It's a nice little difference that you don't necessarily know.
Not every comic does like lowercase thought bubbles, so it's cool.
Well, you also hear, like, you also see the nice, like, the coloring on some of on a lot of the thoughts, like if it's in narration, like for sort of who's speaking or thinking. It's a very well laid out comic.
Yeah. So then, what is it? So Maroni then goes to Harvey, because Maroni's like now totally convinced that Harvey's Holiday, and wants to get back at him by befriending him. So that's great. We get some more Bruce and Selina shipping, which I'm always here for.
And interestingly, Independence Day opens with the murder.
With what?
Chapter 10, Independence Day, it opens with the murder instead of like that being in the middle or at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different.
Which is
But
which is
then
of course important when we get the big reveal of what it is. Just you sort of get that feeling. Okay, this was even then. You sort of get the idea that this was a desperate killing.
yeah, yep. It had to be urgent, had to be quick. It's just like this is what's going on now.
And
Like it
and
wasn't
it's
like
the one.
it wasn't well
It's the
planned
one
out.
killing where you're like, wait, why
Yeah,
doesn't this doesn't track any of the patterns um, of gangsters. It's the coroner. Why
yeah, yep.
why kill the coroner? Um,
Mm. So then,
and this was
yeah. So then,
this was where my deduction about who one of the killer was like locked in. I'm like, who because definitely got to be this person, just
yeah.
because um, I was already getting strong, and then there were none vibes like throughout the entire thing.
I remember you said that to me, and yeah, you'd messaged me that, and you're like, "It's gonna be like," and then there were none. I was like, "I'm not gonna say," because yeah, I've first of all, I never read, and then there were none, but I saw a stage play of it once, and I was like, I don't think it changed anything, but I had a feeling that's what you were
The
referring
stage
to.
play usually lets two characters survive, but it doesn't usually change the identity of the killer.
Yeah, no, the stage play I saw just did like the original ending, like it's like
Yeah.
everyone dies.
Well,
So
how did they reveal the killer? Did they
pretty much the
do
same way,
a
because
epilogue scene, or was it a?
I mean, I mean, yeah, it was like the last scene. It would have been like an epilogue. Yeah, like he's like revealed, then he kills himself. That whole thing.
Is the other character still alive, or is it just him on that character on its own?
I mean, it's that character on his. Yeah, it's that character on his own. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Because in the book, it's literally two police. A couple years later, two policemen find a letter in a bottle explaining how he did it.
Oh. All right then. I'm not sure if I like that actually. Anyway, back when we were talking about Independence Day. That's it. Okay. A lot of Independence Day
I
lately.
will say before this, I was not a Batman Selina Kyle shipper. I wasn't.
See, exactly. This is what happens. This is what fucking happens.
My God, even from issue one, I'm like, ooh, yes.
Yeah, you like it.
Piss
Like
already, you two.
it's a really great dynamic. So, needless to say, I'll be hooking you up with that shit all the time. So we fucking hell. All right. So I think it's also in Independence Day that we see the Sophia Salmaroni relationship, right?
Yes.
Yeah. See that? Yeah, like there's that weird connection between the two families.
Well, and it's this interesting thing of like, oh, this could possibly patch things up, like
mm-hmm.
between the two
Yeah.
families. Like they could unite and go after Holiday together.
Yeah.
Of
This is
course,
also
that
the issue
doesn't
where
happen.
Batman puts a stop to Scarecrow and Mad Hatter being fucking stupid.
You also get the is this like this is also, I don't remember if it happens earlier, but you get the definite reveal that Dent's assistant, this snivelly little minor character called Vernon.
Oh, Vernon. Oh, fuck yeah.
I'm like, you suck, you're
Oh
just a
yeah,
little
yeah.
shit.
Yep. Which is further solidified by probably my second favorite issue of the comic, Chapter 11, Roman Holiday, which is fucking brilliant for many reasons. So we open it. Maroni's gonna go on the stand and he's gonna testify and all that. It'll hopefully put an end to most of this. So we go up on the stand at the same time.
Well,
It
no,
happens to be.
we open with this absolutely haunting of Gilda confronting Harvey.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because she found the guns.
She found a gun.
Yeah. Yes.
In the basement.
Right. Yep. Wonder why.
And it's
like,
is he? And it's a good question of, is he telling the truth that he brings home evidence all the time?
He very well could be, and I wouldn't doubt it, knowing Harvey Dent. But there's still that possibility there. Why would Holiday's guns be in be in the basement of Harvey Dent's home, you know. So so we go there. Oh yeah, at the same time, it is Carmine Falcone's birthday, which
well, no, we also
is
have this
the
brief
best.
scene with Batman and the Riddler again.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Because Riddler saw Holiday. Um, oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Because Batman like straight up is like, he's like, hey, you saw Holiday. Like who is it? And Riddler's like, no, that's not the question you should be asking. But why? Because he says like, well,
Holiday
why?
kill me?
Yeah, it's a great scene. I love it.
And
You really liked Riddler's place in the story as a whole, though. If I'm reading this right.
It's a very important role.
Mhm.
Very,
But
very easy.
he only appears twice in the whole damn comic. Well, 3 times if you want to count that spread at the end. But you know.
I don't even count. I forgot the Penguin was in this.
Yeah, Penguin appears
spread at
like
the end.
Yeah, Penguin appears for that like one panel, and that's it. But then, oh yeah, Vernon, before Sal goes into court, Vernon, sniffly little cunt, gives gives Maroni
Well,
this ass.
first you have
Sorry.
Carla's little bit about like, you know, genuinely concerned, like it's like you're hiring these freaks.
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, like a lot of this comic, which is an aspect we haven't really touched upon yet. A lot of this comic is meant to be that gap. We're bridging that gap between where the Batman world changes. When is it Batman taking down mobsters and people that have corrupted the city, and when does it switch over to Batman punching people dressed in like Mad Hatter costumes in the face? You know, like when is that crossover? This is it. This is when it all changes. This is where the mobsters start dealing with these supervillains like Scarecrow and Mad Hatter, and
because basically they can no longer ignore them.
Yeah,
They
because there's
become
so
too
many.
big.
Yeah. So I love how we bridge that gap there. It's really brilliant. So then
we need to talk about just the court sequence in general.
the court sequence is fucking brilliant. So the court sequence is played side by side with the birthday party,
Yes.
Carmine.
Now we start with, you know, your standard pat down of Maroni.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's the matter, Jimmy? Don't you trust me?
Yep.
Gordon
It's great.
flat out says,
It's
no.
Sal Maroni. It's great. We get this great little like Bruce Wayne inner monologue saying that like Harvey Dent has waited for this day his whole life and all that. Because yeah, it's Dent finally taking down one of the major crime bosses in Gotham, and this is that moment. It's really great. So we bring in this big ass birthday cake for Carmine in Carmine's
full
home.
of like a bunch of candles. Everyone's smiling, and you have Maroni just spilling his guts.
Yep. So Maroni lets everything out. He starts coughing on the stand and says that he has an ulcer.
And it's
obviously
after Dent asks basically what's his final question. Didn't you commit all these murders under the direct orders of Carmine the Roman Falcone?
And at which point it's he doesn't like directly deny it or anything, but
he just starts. He just goes into a coughing fit.
He starts coughing. Ulcer. He pulls out this acid that sniveling little cunt Vernon gave him, and throws it in Harvey's face. And oh god, I adore the panel. I adore the panel so much.
It's this beautiful stark white background. You see the liquid going. It's got this perfect motion. You see Harvey's face is like, what the fuck just happened? What the fuck is happening? And right underneath it, stark black background with Carmine the Roman Falcone blowing out his birthday candles.
So good.
It is, and you just. This comic doesn't do the gore of a man's burning his face off with acid, but
we get this
feel it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like I said, like Bruce's inner monologue you hear throughout the court scene, it ends with him saying, "I will never forget the sound of his screaming." Like, that does so much more than even showing Harvey screaming in pain. You know, like just saying that alone is so good. So Harvey gets rushed to the hospital. We get this great little fake
We
out
have
where the
this.
doctor comes out. The doctor comes out of Harvey's room and he's like, "Your husband is gone." And Gilda freaks out. He's like, "No. He's gone. Like he escaped." It's a great
He
moment.
escaped.
Uh,
The doctor says, who then falls over with a scalpel in his back. Um, you also have Gilda at this point just drawn white. She is.
oh yeah,
She has lost all the color.
yep.
Her.
So we get to end this issue. We get probably the most fitting death for this issue, which is the death of Carla Vitti, the Roman sister.
And she's in the coroner's office,
Yep.
looking at a filing cabinet marked Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's implied she's looking at her brother's file. Or
yeah,
husband.
no, nephews.
Nephews.
I guess.
I don't remember all the family trees. Hang on, I think there's one at the back. At the back of the book. No, her sons. It's her son.
That's okay.
Yeah. Thank you, DC Comics, for publishing a family tree at the back of the book.
Yeah,
That's
so good.
There's a bunch of moving pieces, and a lot of the victims, bar one or two, aren't as important. Like they don't get as much development, which I mean
I do love that page with the family tree though, because it's Harvey, Gordon, and Batman all around that big page in the on the wall. It's great.
Yeah. Well,
so we move
also,
on
I
to.
think it also appears in this issue in the courtroom scene.
Does it?
Yeah. The 2-page spread of the courtroom scene.
Mm-hmm.
Look what's right behind Harvey.
Oh shit! I had never noticed that.
Yeah.
Huh. Damn. Okay. So, all right. Well, I guess that leads us now into the second to last chapter, chapter 12, Labor Day. Opens on one of my favorite scenes in the book, which is Harvey after he escapes the hospital. He's down in the sewers and he comes across Solomon Grundy, and he sort of fills in the rest of the nursery rhyme for Grundy, and it's just a great little scene. I like it a lot.
And it's also this reflection on, there's the idea of what can a man live 2 lives.
Yeah.
And you basically have the final rooftop scene where Gordon gets it. Harvey Dent is Holiday.
Yep.
He gets
God,
pissed
it hurts.
because it's like,
it hurts.
Batman, you knew this shit.
It's like no, is he like because like Batman like still believes that it's not Harvey, even though like all the evidence, literally all of it, points to Harvey, and Batman just refuses to believe it. It's brilliant. It's so good. And again, like one of the things that you had pointed out to me when you first started reading it was that you had said that you had never, like having only seen like Batman films and things like that, you had never seen like this much of a detective in Batman.
Yeah, no, it's
like
you don't get that nice, and I just love mysteries. I love a detective story. Like, give me some suspects. Let me try to work out who's done it.
Yeah. And so the fact that like even despite all this evidence against Harvey, like Batman still knows that like there's no way Harvey is Holiday. And I think it's brilliant. It's really great.
It makes way too much. It makes way too much easy sense.
Yeah. Yep. It can't be that. Yeah. So what is it? So we get
and this is the issue where we actually get the title drop.
We do, yes, because Batman visits Falcone, and Falcone says that that his men have been calling this the Long Halloween because that's when it all began. That's when Holiday first showed up.
Right back to the blues of everything is tinted blue.
Yep. Oh, I love it. Oh, it's so good, so good. So then we get another scene between Batman and Catwoman, and we sort of interrogate Catwoman one more time into like why she's so interested in Falcone. We don't really get an answer to that in this, but since you watched the animated film, you do have the answer to that now, even though it was revealed in a later comic. So, what?
I mean, I actually don't. I don't mind that we didn't get the answer to it here because it's like,
Yeah,
my brain
yeah, like
already went to. It's part of the thing. My brain went to. She knows it's Bruce, and she just has an invested interest in what the hell's going on.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you didn't actually like think it actually had anything to do with Falcone.
No.
Ooh, okay. But all right. Well, that would have been interesting to. I mean, I'll still probably have you read the comic eventually anyway, because it's a damn good comic.
Yeah. Well, and
Lotus
if you, I'm very much if your story relies on not knowing the twist going in to be a good story, you probably don't have a good twist.
Yeah.
Because
So,
you, it's why the ending of Game of Thrones doesn't work because it's like let's throw the carefully crafted plotting out the window for a cheap surprise.
So I think it's at this point that we should just straight up say that like Gilda is one of the holiday killers.
Yeah, one of the holiday killers.
Like we should mention that now because I want to talk about how you don't see it coming in the comic. You cannot possibly predict it coming in the comic. I don't think, at least.
I certainly didn't. I got the identity of the other one. I will like. I was like, yep, we're doing this, but I thought it was a full fake death and just kept doing the killings.
Yeah, but and it's one of those great twists where like you really don't see the twist coming with Gilda, but it makes so much sense when it does come.
Yeah.
But I do want to briefly mention the animated film again because this pisses me off because they characterize Gilda in the film so antagonistically through the entire time, and you could totally see
they also changed her motivations a lot in the animated film.
Yeah,
which
but it makes it so. But it makes
one thing that I'm like, you know.
Yeah, but it makes it so obvious that she's one of the holiday killers. It just, I don't know, it pisses me off. Like I'm looking at this right now. I open up the comic because you made me want to again. But I'm looking at the scene where Batman talks to Gilda in issue 12, and she's drawn so innocently, and like there's no way you could possibly predict that she is holiday.
Yeah, and I mean, even though she is holiday, it is still genuine emotion of just like find my husband.
Yeah. Find him, find my Harvey. The line
it's also very telling that when it's revealed, the only people who know is the reader.
Yeah,
it's not revealed to Batman.
Nope,
it's not real to.
And as far as the comic is concerned, Batman never finds out. Yeah, like brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So
and it's this brilliant scapegoat because you have Harvey. So you basically have Harvey taking the fall, and of course the final panel of the comic is that it's very like it's we're back almost to that we're back to that yellow shading.
But we are getting ahead of ourselves. We should pull ourselves in for a second. We'll get there. I just wanted to bring that up because I was looking at that page and I was like there's no way even this late in the game that reading the comic you could know that it's Gilda. But whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and then you have the one final scene with Calendar Man.
Yep.
Well, one penultimate scene with Calendar Man. He has one more scene later on, but that scene doesn't matter as much. Other than being a decent sort of final ending.
Yeah. So then Gordon decides that it's time to transfer Sal and to a place where no one can find him and Holiday can't get to him because obviously Maroni is totally going to be Holiday's next victim. Considering what he did, because everyone is convinced at that point that that's Harvey, and of course because what Maroni did to Harvey, and Harvey escaped the hospital, he's getting after Maroni now. It's so they're transferring Maroni, they're taking him through the sewers to a safe location, and then Maroni is killed. He is shot by Holiday. We get that brilliant black and white 6 panels that we've been getting the whole time of the death of Sal Maroni, and the final page of issue 12 is
the death of Sal Maroni is actually in color.
No. I'm saying like the death is there, but then we get the 6 panels after that where it shows what the Holiday Killer is doing.
and then you see the final, very, very much shadow page with that again, tiny little pop of color
Yep,
in the
yep. And
purple of the
Alberto
glasses
Falcone,
of
Alberto
Alberto
Falcone,
Falcone.
aiming a gun at Jim Gordon, which brings us to the final issue of The Long Halloween, Chapter 13, Punishment.
Punishment.
What a fucking
Which
issue.
I love the cover that's reprinted here. I'm guessing it's the cover.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's the original with the rotted pumpkin there. Yeah, so good. So Alberto Falcone is Holiday. But I guess, as we're told in that moment, Alberto Falcone is Holiday. And we find out that Batman was disguised as one of the guards that was
I
transferring
punched the air because I was right. I called it.
But not entirely. So
But not
so we
entirely.
apprehend, not entirely, but we'll get there. So the Holiday Killer is apprehended, and Alberto Falcone is locked up. We get this really great scene where Carmine goes to visit him, and there again, like we talked about, like the care that Falcone has for his son earlier, and there we see that care again here, but Alberto is not willing to accept it now because of how Carmine
Do
treated
you
him
even
before.
know when my birthday is?
Yeah, which is just such a fitting line, for Holiday to have in the end.
Yeah. It falls on a holiday. Is it Christmas, New Year's, Father's Day?
So
And
good.
it's, of course, Valentine's Day.
So good. I love it. I love the last one of the last panels of that. I guess not one of the last. There's so like a whole page after it. But I love that panel where Carmine just says like, I can get you out of here. Like, just plead guilty. It'll be fine. I can fix it. And like Alberto's just not willing to accept it. He's like, no, fuck you. You've been a horrible father. Why should I accept your help now? And so Carmine leaves him alone. Carmine goes back. We land on Halloween again, bringing our story full circle, of course. And what next? Yeah. So Gordon and Barbara then go to console Gilda in these trying times because her husband isn't actually the Holiday Killer, and Harvey is still missing. So we go to find Harvey. Harvey has broken all these Batman rogues out of Arkham Asylum, all except for
Except
Calendar Man,
Calendar Man.
which is just a really great twist of fate. I love it.
Because he's flipping the coin. He's fully become Two-Face by now.
Yeah, and he's like using the coin to decide like who he lets out and who he doesn't. And the fact that Calendar Man is the only one that the odds don't favor in letting out the rogues, I love that. I think it's so fucking good.
Calendar Man's a villain and a serial killer, but you just feel so bad. It's like, let him out.
Yeah. So
He's had more to
so
do in this story than the Penguin.
Yep. So we go to the Romans' penthouse then, where all of Carmine's guards are hit with laughing gas from the Joker. We get this beautiful spread, like one of my favorite panels in the comic, of just all these Batman rogues that have been involved in the story, except for Penguin, but he's just kind of there.
Why are you? I don't know. Why is he here? Were they like intending to have him in the story somewhere?
Well, the idea is, well, Penguin is always one of Batman's earliest villains, so like he's definitely been there. So he's at least involved with the rest of the rogues.
He's just not in this story.
Yeah, which is weird. They found like reasons for the strangest of villains to be involved. Like Mad Hatter didn't technically need to be here.
No, like he's a character I had never really heard of.
Yeah,
like all the others, like except I even had heard of Grundy from the Arkham games.
Yeah, because I remember that one level in City. But then, then we get then Harvey finally confronts Carmine as Two-Face, and I fucking love that page where you first see like Two-Face in full. Like it just looks gorgeous. I love the way the scarring tissue is drawn.
Well, and it's the perfect parallel to the worm-infested pumpkin of the cover.
Yep. Oh, so good, so good. So, Two-Face with the same gun that, of course, the Holiday Killer was using. which I guess technically does make Harvey one of the holiday killers in the end, which is great. This is a great sort of twist of fate that he technically did become one of the holidays in the end. So, so Batman and Catwoman come in. They fight off all the rogues here, and Two-Face in the end gives Carmine one last chance by flipping his coin, and it ends up bad heads. So Two-Face just shoots Carmine. Carmine, the Roman Falcone, is finally dead. I love the repetition in this book. We haven't mentioned that actually. The repetition of Batman's inner monologue, where he's constantly like reintroducing characters like Carmine the Roman Falcone, Gotham's untouchable crime lord, things like that, like characters that he's continually reintroducing. And when something about their character changes,
it's very film noir. It's this very
yeah,
film noir, and it works just because this was originally published monthly.
Yeah.
So if someone was picking up, like even in the 90s, picking up just a random issue, you would still get a decent idea. And then you actually have what I think is one of the saddest scenes is the death of Sophia.
Yeah, that hurts. Cause like Sophia's like, I mean, we already mentioned that like all the Falcone family members are great characters, but I really do like Sophia, and she fights with Catwoman.
And Harvey doesn't want to kill Sophia. He wants Carmine to go down.
Yeah, and Carmine's already down. So Catwoman fights with Sophia. Sophia falls out of the penthouse.
Catwoman tries to save her. Catwoman doesn't fight with her. She's the one that's just trying to stop her from, flying out of the window. Because I will maintain throughout this, Catwoman's not a villain.
No, no, that's never really been the case. I mean, other than like the really early Bob Kane stuff, she's never really been a villain.
Well, Batman Returns, the movie.
No, rewatch it, man. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is not really a villain. I mean, she's a villain, but like not like.
I do need to rewatch those two movies.
Not the same way that Danny DeVito is a villain,
Yeah.
But whatever. Actually, on that, I've been reading Batman '89, and they brought back Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, and that's great. So, anyway, so Sophia dies. We get Harvey. Harvey fucking kills Vernon, the little sniveling cunt, which makes me so happy.
Another of us cheering
because God, I hate that guy. I also like that that in him killing Vernon, he continues the holiday trend of leaving a little souvenir in the gun with the victim.
The gun and the coin.
Yeah. And then Harvey's job is done. He's Two-Face. He's a villain now, definitely. But
we have our final rooftop scene, perfectly paralleling how the story began.
Yeah, I especially love the one shot with the three of them standing almost in like a semicircle. That is just straight up the panel from issue 1 of them all standing on the rooftop looking at each other. And Two-Face is there. Two-Face makes some great points, even I would say, culminating in.
He also never stops being Harvey Dent. He denies being Harvey Dent, but he never actually stops. Because he turns himself in.
Yeah, he turns himself in. Jim arrests him, and then he points out as his final line in the comic that they don't know there were 2 holiday killers, and this culminates in them taking Two-Face away. We leave Batman. Batman does the disappearing act on Jim, of course. Gordon goes back.
Batman is the one who suggests that those last 2 killings were holiday killings. That is what he meant.
Yeah.
And that explanation, I genuinely thought, like, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's
and you have the great question of, was it worth it?
Yeah. I think
it's
brilliant.
One final nice spread with one final nice page with Jim and Barbara.
Now, does your version have the extra page where Calendar Man and Holiday meet? Because that was cut from that was cut from the original.
It has a page where they're across the cells from each other.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's
Groundhog Day, Ash Wednesday, Secretary's Day, Earth Day, Flag Day.
Because that was cut from the original. Yeah, that was cut from the original version, and that was actually added in later editions. So
interesting.
Just another Just another not
I
enough
imagine it was
pages
like
there.
I imagine it
Yeah,
was
not
like
enough.
a runtime thing, like only had
Yeah,
so many
like
pages.
not enough pages to print. They went over, so things like that.
So they had to cut
So
something, and this is obviously what would
yep.
what
So we
would be
get one
cut.
final shot of Two-Face in Arkham, thinking of Gilda, and then we get it. We get the final couple pages of Gilda explaining how it was all done and burning all the evidence of that she was ever involved in the holiday killings. So I love this that she is the one that kicked off the holiday killings. Even she's the one that did them up to Christmas, and then New Year's was when Alberto really took over and faked his own death. So I think that's really great. And in her mind, she justifies that as Harvey taking over. That her whole motivation for starting the holiday killings in the first place is that Harvey is constantly talking about how he doesn't have time for her because he's so caught up with work. Well, she's going to make his work easier for him and get rid of the people that he's constantly struggling against. And that's results in the first couple of deaths. And when Harvey catches on to it, in her mind, he took over the holiday killings and started killing Alberto Falcone and all the deaths from that point on. And that's how she justifies it. And as you were already mentioning, the final pages, Gilda say again paralleling the first page of the entire comic. It's her saying, "I believe in Harvey Dent," and God,
it's this beautiful. So many parallels, so many recurring themes. Uh, just a really beautiful story.
yeah, just oh,
of
I love
let's, and it's a good exploration just of Batman as a character and Harvey Dent as a character, and just all of these like just sort of these ideas that kind of weave nicely in and out, until you get obviously the reveal of because it keeps you guessing.
It really does
keep you guessing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I think if you're still here and you haven't read this, and even though you ignored our spoiler warning, go read it. Still go read it.
Yeah.
Our discussion isn't going to necessarily cover everything, and what this story does, and means, because it does have a meaning.
Yeah. I think we should briefly talk. I mean, we sort of talked about them briefly, but we mentioned the Long Halloween film adaptations.
Yes.
First off, the two animated films that were done very recently.
And they're not bad. They have
they're not
big
bad.
flaws.
They're not bad. They're better than some of the latest DC book adaptations. The art styles. The art styles unique. The art style's unique. It has a really solid voice cast. I actually surprisingly really like Jensen Ackles as Batman. He was really good.
Yeah, no, like neither of us. I don't think either of us were expecting that, and he gives a really good performance.
There was one bit. I remember there was one line where I was only able to hear his Jason Todd performance, but that was one line, and I forget what it was though. But it was like one point where I was like, that's not Batman at that point. But it was like one line. I love.
I'm not even mad that they essentially cut out what was my favorite issue. I'm not even mad about that. Like, it's an adaptation.
What I am mad about is that they cut most of the Harvey and Gordon going after Bruce.
Yes, that and the motivations. I don't. They added an unborn child motivation for Gilda.
Yeah, Gilda had like a thing with Alberto, and then like they like straight up like they kill Alberto. Like he gets shot on the yacht,
yeah, like,
and
falls into the dead
turbines. Yeah, it's
which I mean that I guess that is the implication, sort of like of it, but they also say like they found bits and pieces. Like, I'm like, what? I'm sorry. No.
And since since the film adaptation spoils the Catwoman's motivation, I do like the little moments they throw in between like her and Alberto and her and Sophia. Like it's her like talking to her siblings. It's cool. I like what they do with that.
It's a good thing. Obviously, I didn't see it coming because I didn't know it. I was like, this is an interesting thing that they're adding. Not necessarily. I liked how some of the designs changed a little bit. Just because a lot of the character designs, they're very good designs, but in animation they wouldn't work as well.
Oh,
though I will
one thing that the animation did great. I fucking loved the Scarecrow sequence when he first hits Batman with the fear toxin.
Oh yeah, it was really good.
That was gorgeous. Looked so good.
Also, the guy that played
Troy Baker as Joker, I will always love. I always love Troy Baker as Joker. He's so good.
Yeah. I'll also say I also really like the score. And then the guy that played the guy that played Calendar Man. It's just this perfectly.
It's David, however you pronounce his last name. I have no clue. Who's in like every nerdy thing recently? It's great. and actually a while back too. He's been doing it for a long time. But yeah, he's great. Really, really great.
And it's this great airy performance that there are these perfect pauses, and they keep sort of the off-puttingness of it. And it's overall it's a good adaptation. I'd recommend reading the comic first still.
Definitely.
So you can get it. But
there's that. Moving away from that, I just want to mention and make fun of you for
yes, I knew this was coming.
For the fact that you watched The Dark Knight for the first time last night, having already seen Batman Begins and The Dark
Knight Rises. Yeah, it just sort of happened that way.
Well, while we're here, what'd you think of the film?
Good. You can definitely see the influence of the Long Halloween.
Yeah, definitely. If for nothing else, for Harvey's character in its entirety.
For Harvey's character, some of the scenes actually with the Joker are very Long Halloween, and some of the scenes with Eric Roberts as Sal Maroni.
Yeah, Eric Roberts as Sal Maroni. Just want to say that again.
Eric Roberts. Eric, I always dress for the occasion. Roberts as Sal Maroni.
Which is really only funny to the Doctor Who people watching this. I mean, yeah. Anyway,
I think my biggest criticism of the film is something in Nolan's directing style, where he likes to do these rotating shots, and it's just it's a Nolan problem. It's that it happens in all of his films, but like it was like, okay, Chris, static shot, please. We do not need to be rotating all the time. You are making me seasick.
Yeah, a lot of great casting decisions in the Nolan trilogy, but yeah, I think that's.
I also Heath Ledger is that's still marked.
Wait, stop! You cut out a bit. Try again.
Heath Ledger is not my favorite Joker. My favorite Joker is still Hamill, followed closely by Jack Nicholson.
He's not my favorite either. Not even my favorite live action Joker. I'm a Nicholson guy myself. So.
Yeah, no, Nicholson's just. I think part of it is because they don't really play into the fact that the Joker in The Dark Knight is a clown. Like,
I mean, here's the like. I get that, and I've heard that a lot. But like, I think it's important to remember that like the Joker can be just straight up scary, and like doesn't have to be funny.
Yeah, but also, just Joker to be funny.
I would also argue that Ledger does have some funny moments.
Well, there are some funny moments, but it's never like Nicholson in live action, where you get something like, "You are my number one, a guy."
That's it. But no, I love the bit where like, what is it? The one mob boss says to Joker, he's like, "What, you think you can kill all my guys and walk away?" Yeah. It's fun. I really do like it. There's some fun moments, but but for the most part, yeah, it's a scary portrayal. But we will definitely be getting into some scary Jokers eventually, I think, as we continue to go through these comics.
Yes.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff to do in there. Well, maybe not.
I have
fun.
a feeling we're gonna do Death of the Family at some point.
We most definitely are. Most definitely.
But I don't know the context of that, but I have seen some images of the face, and
we will get there. We will get there. But I think that about covers it. I think, wow, this ended up being way longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, these are going to be decently long.
Yeah, especially considering how much there is to talk about in our next comic. So if you wanted to read along with us, the next comic that we'll be covering will be Batman: The Killing Joke, which I don't know. I guess in my mind, like, everyone's read The Killing Joke. So like, I remember like when you were telling me that you wanted to get into more comics, I was like, okay, so what have you read so far? You were like, Sandman, Watchmen, Invincible, and I was like, but Killing Joke, right?
Like, no.
No Killing Joke. And so we're doing Killing Joke next time. Should be fun. And also if you want to get the specific version we'll be covering, because we will be doing the extra stories included on it, we'll be doing the deluxe edition, new edition.
The one it was published in 2019.
Yeah, that's the new version of it. So really, it's, if you have the regular deluxe edition, you're only missing like an extra 3-page story. It's not going to be much that we'll actually be like delving into, but as long as you have like a deluxe edition, you should be fine. But yeah, that's what we'll be covering next. And
for those following along, the fun part about this is I don't necessarily know what we're covering next until
it's true. It's true. Yeah, I told you this one ahead of time because you wanted to make sure that you had the book ahead of time. But I think from now on, you want to know what they are.
Know when we get here.
That'll be fun. That'll be really, really fun. So yeah, but like I said, our first couple episodes will be mostly Batman oriented. Gonna throw them into some early Batman stories, which should be fun. I think we are gonna. There is one modern Batman story in these early episodes that I want to cover, which should be an interesting conversation. Yeah, I think that's about it. So
yes.
Wow. So, thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. This is a really fun experiment, and I look forward to continuing it.
Yes, I'm very excited to see where we go from here.
Indeed.
Hopefully next time we can get like a written out intro and outro.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing going into the intro. So I'll write something out, and I'll be more prepared next time, hopefully. So we'll see.
Please, if you agree with us, disagree with us, get a conversation going in the comments, because those are always fun.
We'll both be monitoring the comments, so be sure to let us know what you think. Whatever, like you have to like add to what we said, or disagree with something that we said, whatever.
If you have ideas for things that we could cover on the show,
absolutely, yes,
put them down there. We don't know when we get to them necessarily, because I know Zoe has a plan, but also plans can change.
That's true. But yeah, there's always potential for things to get thrown in there that I wasn't anticipating before. But for the most part, I have like the first 10 episodes are definite. Like, there's no way I'm changing the first 10 episodes. So that'll be it. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. This is fun. I guess until next time, whatever this outro is, I've been Joey Morgan, I think,
and I've definitely been Jacob Licklider.
Yeah, wow, you're more sure of that than I was. So, all right. Thank you all so much for watching. I guess I will see you next time. Goodbye.